Okay, so we are finally here, and in those previous two videos, we actually have set it up our texturing process, and in this video, we can finally start texturing. So right now, I'm just setting up the reference, as you can see. For some reason, I am okay. I have green color selected, so I'm just gonna fix the color. By the way, I am also gonna be using the palettes, and right now I think I'm talking about how these particular areas are so much different. Don't you worry, I am actually going to talk about these colors in the future. Right now I am just I think I was just talking about some of the variation that we have in the skin. So first thing first, we need to use the palette, and in order to do that, I need to select the base color, so that this color is gonna act as eraser. But as you can see, you need to select the color with the flat mode on, otherwise the color is gonna be different. So yes, make sure that you are actually in the flat mode before you pick up the color, and you can just press S, by the way, to create that. So this is gonna be the first color, and if you were to if you were to start painting and it just didn't turn out to be nice, you can just select this color and erase that. Now the second color is gonna be our darker, like the darks, basically. So I am just creating another color, and that color is gonna be used to add some of the darker spots. Yeah, so I've already talked about the brush, and these are basically the darker spots, as you can see. Okay, so let me just decrease the strength, and the way we are gonna be approaching the paint is pretty simple. We are just gonna be blocking out the colors, like you block out your meshes when you are sculpting. It is gonna be something similar with the paint as well. So in this particular case, as you can see, the eye bag is actually a little bit darker in terms of value. I know it is kind of red, but if you only think about the values, it is also a bit darker. So before adding the reds, I am actually decreasing the value with this color, and that's what I'm gonna be doing. You're gonna see wherever there is like darker value. For example, let's see. For example, on the lips and in the inside of the nose, instead of adding the color directly, I am actually adding the value first. Like I am decreasing the value with this color. So that's kind of important. And this color is gonna be added in the palette. And now, in order to actually remove the color that have actually split it out a bit, I can just select the original color, increase the strength, and I can just remove it. So you can see that this is basically working as a eraser, and that is the reason we are actually using the palettes, so that we obviously can just store the colors, and we don't really have to choose again and again. So now I am with the darker color again, and the value of the lip is actually lower than the skin, as you can clearly see. I know that this is red, but again, I told you we are gonna be adding the reds a bit later. Right now, only gonna think about the value. So as you can see, we are just adding the darker areas. In this particular case, I am just gonna remove the symmetry and start adding the darker tones. Also, because I am actually in the solid viewport, so that I can actually see where the edges of the lips are. And yeah, I am just like adding the value. You are gonna see that these values that we have added are also pretty random, and that is absolutely fine. That's actually the reason we have created the brush, so that we basically get all these variations for free. So this is good. Now you can see that we have our face set from the sculpting that we did, so we can actually just use the same thing and start coloring the inside. In this particular case, you could have just color picked the the darker values on the inside of the lip and just started painting with that. But it's totally fine. We can actually just stick to this particular color. So I am actually just gonna start adding the red right away. I think, as you can see, I am like just selecting the red color, and okay. So You can actually see the color, by the way. Obviously, this is trial and error. You cannot like get the color right at first to go. I mean, you can. It's not. I'm not saying that you cannot. I'm just saying that getting the color right is obviously trial and error. And we are also gonna do a whole lot of test renders to see if the color is working or not. And you're gonna realize that in the future, I am actually gonna be changing the lip color. But yes, right now this is the color that I've chosen, which in the end is not gonna be the right color. But again, this is just a process and a trial and error kind of a thing. So if a color is not working for you, I am also gonna show you how you can actually just replace the color. In this particular case, the lip color is not gonna work. So I gotta have to replace the lip color. But yeah, you're gonna see how you can replace the colors. But yes, in this case, as you can see, I am just like reading, not reading, but adding the reds. One of the most important thing that you need to realize is that I am just blocking out the colors. Like I'm not really going for any sort of variation or any sort of abnormality in the color that you usually have on the skin. Right now, this is just the blocking phase. Even though I have started adding the reds on the lips, you're gonna see in the future that I am just gonna be, just gonna be focusing on the base color, like on the bigger colors. So yes, right now only gonna start adding the color where I feel like. In this particular case, I am again reading, not reading. Why am I saying reading instead of adding? So in this particular case, again you can see that I am adding the color red because I feel like that inside is gonna be red, like the inside of the nose. So yeah, you can see. And again, you can just use your original color to basically remove anything that spills out. We can actually use the lasso mask, which is obviously a sculpting tool. And this is also one of the benefits, by the way. I don't think you have the option to mask in like texture paint mode, but you obviously have the option to do it in this like particular like in the sculpt mode you have the option to do it. So I think that's pretty nice as well. And in this case, because this is not like smooth enough, I can just use the smear brush to like smoothen that particular part out to basically give it a transition. As you can see that the symmetry was not on, so I had to redo, like not redo, but I had to wait. Is it redo? Okay, I have to now again try to do it in the other nostril, and as you can see that part is actually sped up because I was just doing the same thing, so you didn't really had to see me doing that. I mean, you get the idea. Again, my English is I'm also kind of exhausted, been speaking for so long. So I have started to add reds on the eye bag area, as you can see, because you can like see in the reference. You saw in the reference that we have reds. By the way, I have references open on the other screen. So if I'm working on an area and you felt like that you actually cannot see the reference, that's because the references that I am like looking at are on my second screen, and unfortunately, you cannot see those. But I am like still gonna commentate on everything. At least I'll try to commentate on everything. If it is not repetitive, and I'll tell you what the what the thought process behind everything was. So right now, as you can see, just adding the reds and before the reds, I have just decreased the volume in that particular area. So that is also one of the important thing that you need to realize. In this particular part, let's actually see. I am like adding a little bit of red. Now the intensity of this red is gonna be kind of low. Obviously, we don't want the nose to look as red as lips. So, when you are adding the red in the nose, try not to overdo it. Okay, so yeah, again, I told you we are actually just gonna start with the broader strokes and the broader color, and that's what I'm doing. I'm literally just trying to add bigger colors and not really worrying about all the variation that we have in the colors right now. We have small detailed brush for it, and we are just gonna be using that in the future. So yes. Now let's actually start adding some of the yellowish toned color, a bit greenish actually, not yellowish, a bit green color, greenish kind of a tone, as you can see. Even though it's not like super green, you can like see how this color looks. So if you really want to, you can actually see this is where these greens are, right? And this is the reason that I have actually gonna start adding these colors. So yeah. So first thing first, I am actually gonna start with the nasal level 4 because there is gonna be a fat beneath the skin. So I feel like this part is gonna be a little bit more pale, and just because of that, I am actually adding this color. Even though I really hope, by the way, that you can see the color because the strength is so low that there is a possibility that you might not be able to see the colors that I'm adding. I really hope that you can see it, by the way. The strength is pretty low. Like maybe if you can concentrate, you can see it because right now I am doing a voiceover and I can barely see it. So I really hope that you can see it. Um, but yeah, I am definitely adding it just a little bit. Okay, so in this particular area, we are gonna add a little bit of blues, but maybe not right now. Again, this is a voiceover, so I don't know what I'm gonna do next. But yes, you can definitely see that this color is definitely coming out a little bit. And yeah, right now I'm just literally blocking, and now I'm just gonna add this color to the palette, as you can see. So we have four colors in the palette now. Now we can actually go towards a pale color, right? We can just go towards a bit more yellowish pale color so that we can start adding some of the brighter areas as well. Yeah, just figuring out what color is gonna work best, and this is the color that I think is just gonna work fine. By the way, once when I am like changing the color, you can like note down the values so that you basically can use the similar color if you want to, or maybe just experiment with your own. These colors are not something that I like remember in my mind. I just go with the flow, and yeah, wherever. So the purpose of this color is to add the pale areas, and the idea behind adding it like beneath the nose is because there is this part does not receive any sunlight. This part is just gonna turn out to be a bit more paler, and that's why I am actually adding this particular part in this area. Also, this color is gonna be on the edges of the lips so that it would create a boundary kind of a feel, and it would just end up looking nice. So that's what I'm doing. You can like see that's the reason that I am actually putting the color on the edges of the lip to basically create a difference between the lip, where the lip is starting and where the lip is basically ending. So there's just a boundary thing. And also, if you were to just look at the reference, you're gonna realize that these parts are usually kind of pale. In these particular wrinkles, we are also gonna get some of the paler colors. So wherever there is wrinkles, I am also gonna start adding the paler colors because of the fat pads underneath. And yeah, wherever there is, I feel like there is a fat area, I am just gonna start adding the pale color. In this particular case, wrinkles are one of those areas where I feel like the paleness is gonna be added. So as you can see, wherever there is wrinkle, I have actually just started adding the pale color. So by pale, I meant to say the brighter color, the color that I'm using right now. So right now I have actually removed the saturation. So now the color is pretty white. As you can see, like before the color was pretty yellow. So I didn't really liked that. And now I have actually removed the hue a little bit and created an almost white color. And now I am actually just going to use the small brush to actually use this. And I've already talked about this brush, by the way, right? So I don't think that I actually need to show you again. But yes, I am going to be using this brush with this color to create some of the specular highlights on the skin Even though I've told you that we are gonna do the blocking first, but in this particular case, I am just gonna start adding I am just gonna start adding this specular highlights, and also the stroke is gonna be at the scene so that even if I were to zoom in or zoom out, the size of the brush does not change. And now we can actually just start adding some of these specular highlights, as you can see. By the way, we are working on the 13 million mesh, so I think the polygons that we have in this particular mesh should actually be enough to add all these highlights that we are creating right now. So don't you worry about losing any of the details. Especially in the end when you'll be rendering the portrait, the pixels that you're gonna select, even if you were to just select a 4K image, these polygons that you have are still gonna be enough to have enough like pixel density to give you enough detail. I really hope that actually makes sense, by the way. So don't you worry, 13 million polygon is definitely good enough for you. You don't really have to push to 52 million. Even though Blender didn't let me apply the 52 million mesh, but I think it's still okay to, work on the 13 million one. So in this case, now I have actually started adding the paler color wherever I felt like it needed, and literally just blocking right now. As you can see, not really focusing on small little details wherever I felt like the area is like pale. I am just adding the colors and not really thinking about whether I need variations or not. And now I am actually just checking if I want more color or less color. So according to that, I am just changing the settings of jitter, as you can see. And also one of the things that I'll say, there are three part to this base color series, if you can say that, which means that there is gonna be a time when I'll actually start saying the stuff pretty repetitively. So if I were to do that, just ignore that and just like focus on what I'm doing and not on what I'm saying. But yes, right now, as you can see that I've actually used this green color to basically add it into the corner of the eyes. And yeah, the skin does actually have the greens also and the blues and the pale areas. So I am just trying to block out these colors wherever I feel like these colors are needed. So as you can see, wherever uh, a person have hairs and wherever they shave, you does actually get a greenish tone. So again, just blocking out the colors, not really focusing on the variations right now. We are going to be focusing on the variation, and that's actually the reason there are like three parts, because we are going to spend so much time on the variation. But yes, right now, as you can see, just focusing on the block out. Again, one of the main ways to do is to just look at the reference pretty consistently, because that's how you would actually get the ideas, how you basically wanna add the colors. Right now, I am just blocking out the colors. At this point, you don't really have to look at the reference, but I think it still is a good idea if you are. I mean, obviously, it's a good idea. Every time you look at a reference, it is obviously a good idea. But in this particular case, I am just blocking out the colors. So I don't really need to think about the variations and how the skin is exactly working or not. So in this particular case, I have actually started to blend these colors. So I have just picked up the color in between. And as you can see, with a little bit of lower strength, I have started to blend out the colors. And this is pretty important. I really hope that you know how the blending basically works. And as you can see that I am actually just picking out a similar color. And now I am just started to blending things out. So this is one of the things that you need to know how to do it, by the way. And I really hope that you actually know it. If you have any problem blending the colors, you can like ask me later, and maybe I'll show it to you in the like separately in a YouTube video or something. Maybe I'll record a video and just send it to you. But right now I'm not showing it because I think that almost everyone knows how to blend colors. And yeah, right now I'm just literally blocking the colors out. Not really going into the details, as you can see. Maybe I have actually started to blend the colors out, but still I'm not going into all the variations that we have. So yeah, okay. Right now I am just trying to figure out the brushes setting and how much of the color I want. Like you can still see that I am just trying to add some of the darker areas again, because I think the colors that we had added actually have removed the darker volume, so I am re-adding it. And yes, just blocking out the colors. Like you can see what I'm doing, I'm just adding the greens, I am adding the pale areas wherever they need to be added, adding the higher value part, like the darker tones wherever they need to be added. Nothing complicated, I personally feel like I am doing, as you can see. So in the wrinkles, you can see that I am making the wrinkles a bit pale. In the future, when we'll actually start blending, you're gonna realize that the transition between all these colors are gonna be pretty smooth, because this is a three-part series just for the base color. Actually, the only texture map that took that much amount of time is the base color. Every other map was actually pretty quick to create, and that just shows you how important is your base color map is, or you can say albedo map. There are multiple names of the same map, but yes, albedo map is obviously one of the most important one. And now I think I am actually going to do a test render. That's why I came out of sculpt mode. Also, this is pretty like important. You need to come out of sculpt mode to see exactly the changes that you have made in your object. If you were to just stay in the sculpt mode, it just does not update for some reason. And now, instead of the color, I need to add the color attribute node, so that we basically can see the color that we have painted and not the base color. So as you can see, and yes, let's actually just put it over there. And this is what we have. Like it was looking pretty nice, so let me just do a render. Obviously it's an edit. I've edited it out all the time that it took to do the render. And one of the things you can see that lips are coming out pretty nicely, I feel like, even though I am gonna change the color in the future for some reason. Right now the lips are definitely looking pretty nice, and all the greenish tones and all the pale things that we have added are actually looking nice. So yes, but one of the things that I actually am realizing is that skin is not dark enough. Like you can see, also the lips are not dark enough. Overall skin tone can be a bit more darker and a bit more reddish as well. So this is one of those things that I feel like I need to achieve now. And you can like definitely see that all the pale, like all the greens that we have added is a bit too much. So what I need to do, I actually need to make sure that the color in the end becomes a bit like darker. So what I'll do, I'll actually just add a RGB curve node, and I'll start okay, and I'll start lowering down the pole so that the color would become a bit darker. As you can see, like it is getting just a little bit darker, right? If I were to just put the render to slot 2, I can actually just do a re-render to see how much changes we have created. So let's just do a render, and let's actually see if this version is a bit better or not. And I can just switch between, what am I no yeah, I can just switch between the renders to see which one is actually closer to the likeness. And I think this one is definitely much more closer to our likeness. And that's basically the reason that I am actually just gonna bake this to our color attribute. So yes, I think this is definitely much more closer, even though I feel like I can go a little bit more darker, but I think this is definitely working. So yes, I can just put it into the emission. You already know the process, by the way. So again, I am just showing it to you. Just put it into the emission and then select your object. And the target needs to be your color attributes. So the bake type is, first thing first, going to be emit. That is important because we are using the emission node, and then the target is going to be color attribute, and now you can just bake it. Okay, so you can see that color actually have gotten little bit darker. I really hope that you have noticed that, by the way. And now we can actually just start working on this new color. So I am again in the sculpt mode to paint, which does sound kind of weird, sculpt mode to paint. But yes, after the bake, we have actually gotten this new color that is a little bit darker than the previous one. And now we can just start working on this new color that we have gotten. One of the things that you're gonna know, you're gonna realize is the neutral color that we have picked in the starting is not gonna be neutral anymore. That color is gonna be a little bit lighter. So what you can do, you can actually just remove that color and repick the color. So yeah, now let's actually talk about the renders. You can see that we need to create some of these areas a little bit redder, like reddish, right? As you can see in the reference. And you can also see some of the redness at the corner of the nasal level fold that actually is touching the nose. So these are some of the things that I'm looking at right now. You can see that lip is supposed to be a little bit more darker, and yeah, let's just compare it with the reference, right? And just see what are the things that you need to change and what are the things that needs to be improved on. You can like definitely see on the cheek area, it is supposed to be a bit more brownish and a bit more reddish. So this is, I think, gonna be the next thing that I'm gonna do. And even if I am not gonna do it, because I'm obviously just doing a voiceover, so I have no idea if I'm gonna do it or not. You get the idea, right? Like you get the idea what I am thinking right now and what my thought process is and how I am actually taking the decisions. And let's actually see. One of the things, yes, this part needs to be removed because I felt in the render it was a bit too reddish. So I have just removed this red area. And yes, now I am just gonna start and like I'm just gonna continue painting it, which I have no idea what I'm gonna do, by the way. Let's actually see what I'll do. I think I'm just like adding this greenish kind of a tone wherever there is not. And now I can just switch to the red, and I can just start adding some of the reds now because you've already seen that we need to make the cheeks a little bit reddish. I am like creating this low saturated and low value color, which is also a bit reddish, and I am going towards the brown a little bit to add this color to the cheeks. And you can see this is the color. So let's see if it is gonna work or not. And I've told you this is just a trial and error thing. I thought that the previous color is gonna work, but it did not. So I had to make the color a bit darker and then rebake it. So that was also an example of trial and error. So yes, the whole painting process is just gonna be trial and error, and that is also the reason it actually took so long for me to do. Maybe if you are a better artist, you might be able to nail it on the first go. Also, because it is actually like likeness related. If it would have been a character that might not have existed, then I could have actually just gone with the flow. But because in this particular case, I had to make sure that everything actually matches. I had to, do a whole lot of rendering, a whole lot of test rendering. So in this case, I felt like that the color is still a bit lighter. So I am just using this color to make the whole skin tone a little bit reddish and a little bit dark. So now again, now that I've actually done this particular area, I am just gonna do another render. So yeah, you can see that this particular part is actually a little bit closer. So yes, we are getting closer to the likeness in terms of tones and everything. And I think that was definitely a better, like definitely a positive step towards the likeness. By the way, you don't have to do renders pretty frequently, but this is actually kind of just my habit. And yes, you can actually do a little bit of painting and then, start doing some of the test renders. But in this particular case, I am just gonna do it pretty frequently to see if the skin tone is basically working or not. And yes, so in the ear, you can see the ears are gonna be a little bit pale, and but yeah, ears are definitely ears could be done a bit later. or I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna start doing the ears. I have no idea. So yes, this is definitely an improvement. So let's actually continue, keep going. Okay, now as you can see that I have selected the darker valued color. Obviously, the reason is to start adding some of the darker values again that we might have removed accidentally because of the other colors that we have added. So I am reintroducing the darker tones as you can see on the eye bag area. Let's actually see. So I was looking through the solid view so that I can see if I'm not spilling the color a bit outwards. You can like see. By the way, the symmetry is also on. So it's for the blocking out the colors, which I am doing right now. You definitely can have the symmetry on because I'm just blocking out the colors. Like I'm not really going into the details, and most of the time the tones are gonna be similar in both part of the faces. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just setting up the tones, not really adding any of the details. Just setting up the tones is basically what I'm doing right now. And as you can see, I am like still making the skin a bit darker overall, as you can see. And the reason is again, I thought the skin could use a little bit of more darkness, and that's what I'm doing right now. So I've realized that the render was actually still a bit brighter, and because of that, I am introducing a little bit of darkness. Okay, so now I am actually just picking up the neighbor colors and start blending some of these colors. As you can see that I've just picked up the color by pressing S, by the way. S means sky or sandwich. If you really like sandwiches, then it could be sandwiches for you. If you like skies, then S means sky. But yes, by pressing S, you can just select the neighbor color and start blending things. In this particular case, after blending the colors, by the way, as you can see that I basically have selected this pretty dark color because I felt like that the darkness was not there in the previous color. So I have actually just selected this color, and now I am introducing a bit more darkness. And again, I am just going to do a test render in a minute, I think. But yes, I'm gonna do a test render to see if the color is working or not. And I am not gonna be coloring the neck, by the way, because obviously we are not gonna be able to see the neck. So that's why. In this particular reason, I can actually break up the symmetry because it was looking kind of weird. So I have just broken up the symmetry to basically fix that line that was like created. And now I'm just picking up the neighboring colors to blend the colors in. That's what I'm doing right now. But again, right now the idea is to just figure out the tone of the skin and not all the details. And as you can see, now that I have updated the tone again, I can actually just do another render, and let's see if it is actually working or not. Okay, so this is the render, and I think the skin tone is now more reddish and a bit more darker as well, which I feel like is much more closer to the likeness. So yes, this is again a step closer to the likeness, and yes, we are slowly but surely going there. And yeah, this is basically just gonna be the process. By the way, I am just gonna see what are the differences, and then I'm just gonna try to figure out how to like fix that. So in this particular case, I feel like the skin could be a bit more brownish, and yeah, I am just gonna go towards it. As you can see, I have actually like selected the brown color already. I can actually just start adding some of the browns now. So you can see that I am like adjusting the hue and values so that I basically get the color that I want. Again, this is just going to be the trial and error thing. So don't you worry about it if you were not able to get it right on the first go. Now I am actually gonna be adding this color with the like normal shading on, as you can see, so that I basically can know where the nasal level fold is. And now I have actually just started adding these browns in this area. So yeah, you can see just looking at the reference and try to figure out where I need to add these colors and where I don't need to add these colors. So like you can clearly see the areas where I actually needed to add those. So yep, in the nasal level fold and in this particular area, I thought that I needed to add those colors. So that's basically the reason that I'm adding these. And also below the bottom lip area, you can see it is pretty dark. So I am actually adding this color in this area because in the reference, I felt like this area is also dark. So I am just adding it here. And the whole upper lip area is also gonna be a bit darker. And yep, that's why I'm actually adding this color here. So again, I've told you it's just a trial and error thing. You need to add the color and then you need to make sure if it is looking good in the render. Right now, I am not really working on the details because the first thing that I need to get right is the skin tone. And as soon as I actually get the skin tone right, I can just go and start, adding the details. Because if I were to let's just start adding the details, it's going to be super hard to change the tone because unlike sculpting, you cannot go lower down the subdivision to change the base color. So you need to get the base color right first and then you can actually start adding the details. So in this particular situation, you can see that I'm actually adding the darker values because I didn't really wanted to add the reds like I was adding before. Because this area was actually a bit darker and not that reddish, so I've chosen to, just decrease the value and not add the reds. And because of the symmetry, you can see there is a line in the middle that's being created. So I can actually just increase the strength and then pick up the neighboring colors and then start blending in. That's actually one of the ways you can do the blending, by the way. Just in case if you don't know, just pick up the neighboring color and start painting over it to create a little bit of blending that you can see right now. And again, making the bottom part of the nose a bit brighter. That is something that it might not be visible in the in the reference, but yeah, you can definitely add it. So this is the render. And okay, as you can see, this actually have gotten a bit more reddish, I think. So I feel like I need to remove some of the reds now. For some reason, I think I've overdid the reds. Yeah, you can also see that we have also gotten a bit of randomness in the skin, right? And it is actually starting to look nicer, by the way, even though it is not matching to the reference. As if you were to just ignore the reference, the skin is looking pretty nice, I think. And we are just definitely going to go there, by the way. There, it is a three-part series, which means we are going to be here for the long time, just painting the skin. So don't you worry, we are we have just started now, and we have not yet closed the 1 hour mark, which means even the half of the video is not finished. So don't you worry about not getting there because we have plenty of time. We are definitely gonna get there. Okay, so right now what I am doing, I'm actually gonna remove some of the reds. As you can see that I've talked about that the red was actually a bit too much. So I am just gonna remove the reds, and also you can see the reference have updated. So the reason is I felt like this reference a bit was a bit too reddish and a bit color graded. So now what I'll do, I'll actually pick a color from a movie, a screenshot from a movie, and now instead of this reddish tone, I am actually gonna go with this tone. So this is gonna be the new reference that I am actually gonna go with, and this is the decision that I took in the middle of painting, which you should not do, by the way, because I'm literally changing the tone. And yes, so I have also removed a little bit of saturation and it didn't work. So I had to go back to the middle version, not this version, but the yellowish version that we've just rendered. So saturation node that we've added, hue saturation node, that is definitely not working. So we need to remove that now. and then we can just start painting again. So I think in this video I'm saying that we need to add the veins later and stuff. But yes, hue saturation node is definitely working. So I have just removed it and now we can just start painting on this. By the way, I could have baked this color on the mesh like we baked before, but I think we are just gonna use this color, and after using this color we are just gonna remove some of the reds from this particular color in the shader. So I'm just gonna keep on working in this particular color, not really gonna bake it, and the shader is just gonna do the rest. So yeah, right now you can see that I've actually started blending the colors. And after that, I think I'm just gonna start adding some of the variations, or I don't know. I still am just trying to figure out if the block is correct or not. But yeah, you can see that I was actually blending out the colors. So okay, so we definitely have some of these spots that I have not removed yet. But before that, I think that I'm actually gonna start adding the browns again, because again, just the trial and error thing. Okay, so I am actually creating a brush called breakup, and I am just gonna use the cloud texture so that the paint would actually be a bit more random, as you can see. You can obviously just start changing the settings. In this case, what I'm gonna do, I think gonna just increase the size of the texture a bit. So like you can see what the texture actually does. Let's actually change the mapping to view plane so that it would not tile like it was tiling before, and that way it's gonna be much more random. Also, once you do the undo, it basically just remove the texture, which is so weird with Blender. I don't know why it does that. So I need to redo it again. The mapping is now view plane, and now you're gonna see that we are gonna get much more randomness. So like you can see that we are getting more randomness. I think I'm actually also gonna, increase the size of the texture. So yeah, you can see that I am just increasing the size of the texture, and for some reason Blender have lagged. Like in a while, Blender have lagged. You can like see how the brush is behaving. I think I've increased it a bit too much, so I need to go back a little bit. And yeah, you can now see how the texture is behaving. So this is just gonna create more randomness, by the way. And that's why I am gonna be using this texture now, so that we basically get more natural looking variations. And I think the color have been blocked out now, and now all we need to do is to just start adding some of these randomness. As you can see that I am actually adding reds on the cheeks. So this is like one of the first color that I've thought of adding. And I think the idea is to add a little bit of these color variations that we are seeing in the skin. There is one more thing that reading this, not I've again said reading. I don't know why am I keep on saying reading, but one more thing that that this color is gonna do is to lower down the value of the skin. So the skin tone is gonna become a bit more darker. As you can see, this is actually not a red color, but a pretty dark red color. So it's also gonna help us lower down the skin tone as well. One of the coolest way of adding the detail is to add one color and then select another color and then remove the previous color, and that workflow is just gonna create more randomness, and you're gonna see in the future that you can see that I'm actually using the whiter color, the pale color, to start removing the reds that we have added, and that adding and removing of the color is just gonna create a bit randomness. As you can see in the skin, we have already started getting so much more randomness and so much more detail, even though we have still not used the small detailed brush which we are going to be using in the future. But you can see that like adding and removing the color uh, have already given us so much more the variation and details. So yeah, you can see literally I'm just adding and removing the colors to get the variations. Also, you need to make sure that you keep on rendering it to see if the color tone is working or not, because it is just not gonna make sense for you to start adding these variation and then realize that the color tone, like the main color tone, is not working. So that's also one of those things that you need to make sure that you actually get right. In this particular case, even if you were to get the color tone right, or sorry, wrong, you can actually just adjust the color tone in the shader and then rebake it to your color attributes. Okay, now I am actually at the smaller detailed brush, and I am like I have actually started to add some of these paler details. Like you can see, I need to enable the symmetry to actually start adding those. The way these small detailed paler colors are actually here to break up the spec a bit more, and you're gonna realize that in the renders that they basically pop out pretty nicely. They are not that prominent, but it still looks pretty nice. And yeah, you can like see that on the border I am like still adding those. And by the way, you can actually start adding those on the lips as well, even though it might seem like that the lips are pretty reddish in the tone and they don't have any of these paler colors. You can like still add those colors to give more randomness to the skin. So yeah, I have actually just started adding these small little dots on the whole face. And this is again just to give you the randomness. This is just to give the skin a bit more natural look, a bit more random look. The variation in the skin tone that we have in the skin is basically what's gonna make the skin look like pretty nice. Again, in this particular case, I felt like that this particular area needs to get a little bit of variation between the paleness and the darkness. So I think that's what I'm doing right now. You can see that the color that I have selected is actually kind of dark, and now I am actually just uh, painting this color in the random areas to basically create the variation. So with the smaller brush, I can actually just make the brush a bit bigger, and that bigger brush is just gonna start creating these random spots, as you can see. So yeah, right now I'm just literally choosing some of the random areas, and also looking at the reference, not actually choosing it randomly, but looking at the reference is also important. And yeah, but yes, these spots are also, you can say, random. Okay, but yeah, reference is obviously important as well. Make sure that you have those in the references. You can see that I have actually started adding these spots, even though they are not like accurate to the likeness. I am just trying to figure out if the color of these spots that I'm adding is correct. So yeah, you can see that just like we have something similar in the reference, I've actually tried adding these darker spots. If this color would not have worked in the end, I actually had to just change the color in the shader section and bake it so that I basically can just work on the new color. You can see that just selecting the similar small detailed brush to start adding these small little like specular highlights, you can say, or the brighter color. But yeah, right now just going into each and every single one of these areas to have a bit more randomness, like you can see. So right now I'm just selecting each and every single color that I basically have in the palette and just going over all the areas. the skin needs to have enough variation that it actually looks natural. So that's why I'm just picking up the colors that I have in the palettes and just going all over the body. Obviously, you need to make sure that the tones are correct in the places. So, for example, in the eye bag area is supposed to be a bit darker. So I am like just making sure that the color actually stays darker in the eye bag area and not letting it become a bit brighter or anything. And because this particular wrinkle is gonna be pale, I am just making sure that even if I'm adding some of the random colors, the overall value of that particular area does not like changes. So even though there is like so much more variation going on, if you were to zoom out, you can like see each and every single one of these areas have their own like color, like tones, right? So yeah, make sure not to lose that. And even though you have so much of these variations, so much of these colors going on, the base color needs to be visible from far behind, so that it would also be similar in the render and not just up close. Not just up close while painting, it also needs to be seen nicer in the render and differentiable, by the way. Differentiable, it needs to be like differentiated in the render. So now I am actually just adding some of the darker tones in the lip area so that, just for the sake of variation again. And we also have something similar going on in the references, so why not, right? And you'll be like surprised to see, but it's not just the red color that you actually need to add in the lips. You can also add some of the greens and the blues and some of the paler colors, and you're gonna see me adding those in the future. So yeah, right now you can see that I'm actually adding the skin color, like the original skin color, and like literally I'm just creating some of this randomness. Okay, so now I think it is time to do a test render, and this is the render that came out, and you can like clearly see the randomness that we have actually added on the skin, and it is obviously showing. So yes, we are definitely going into the right direction. Now again, you have to choose between this reddish reference or the paler one. In this case, I am actually just gonna go in the middle. So if you were to only look at the skin, I think the skin overlow is obviously looking a bit better. And yeah, I mean, we are definitely going in the right direction. Not gonna lie, I might have to remove some of this and like do a render with the original reddish color that we have, and this is like the difference between both of them. So I think we have removed the red a bit too much, so I am actually gonna reintroduce some of the reds and gonna remove some of the reds from the shader, like not remove but add the reds again in the shader, as you can see. Yeah, but we definitely have some variation. You can see that we have actually started to get this variation in the nose, and it is obviously looking nicer. I mean, definitely we need to work a bit more on these areas so that they'll actually start looking much better. But even though we've actually worked on it for like an hour, it already have started to look pretty nicer in my opinion. Like you can see the skin tone is actually looking pretty nice. Okay, so this is the second render with the with the reds, like with the RGB curves turned off. So what I feel like is we need to re-add a little bit of red. So I think what I am gonna do, I am actually okay. I thought that I am gonna like remove the shader or anything, but not the shader, but the node. But I am not removing the node. I am actually just continue painting it. And okay, so I felt like that I needed to make the lips a bit more purplish. So yes, the lips are gonna be purplish, and I've already talked about it, by the way, that in the future I am gonna be changing the tone of the lips. And there you have it. I am just changing the tone of the lips. I am making the lips a bit more purple. As you can see in the reference, by the way, that the lips are a bit more purple. And now I am just doing a test render to see if the color is gonna work or not. And let's actually see. So I've made the color a bit darker, and now I am actually reintroducing this color. Okay, so I must have thought that the color is a bit brighter and I need to make it a bit darker, and that's why I'm actually creating this color. Also, you can see that I've picked up the neighbor area to, blend the colors in, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just blending the colors in a bit. Also, I have not saved the color in the palettes. That's also an oopsie movement, but it's okay. You should actually just save these colors, just in case if you were to need it in the future, which I think I would be needing it in the future because it is the color of the lips. So I should have saved it. In this particular case, I had not saved it, so that was not that good from my side. But yeah, I have actually changed the name of this brush to the bigger detailed texture so that I know that I'm using a texture in this one. And now I can actually start adding some of these some of these randomness. Yeah, like you can see, he does have it on his cheeks, by the way. If you were to just look at another references, you're gonna realize that he does have some of these darker areas. And yeah, just adding and removing, by the way, just adding and removing is gonna give you so much more natural variation that you don't really need to do anything else after that. Okay, so let's see what am I doing now. Actually, I said that this video is gonna be 2 hours long, but that's not the case. This video is just gonna be 1 hour long. I have totally misjudged that. For some reason, I thought that this video is actually gonna be 2 hours long. As you can see that I'm actually adding the reds. So the reason for that is obviously I mean skin has some red spots. So I think that's what I'm trying to create right now. And also, this video is about to end, by the way, and I had no idea. I was again thinking that this video is actually about to be 2 hours long, but you can see that I'm looking at this reference and I am just trying to add the reds wherever I am seeing. So you can clearly see in the reference that on the corner of the eyes, there are some reds, and that's why I'm actually just introducing them right now. So obviously the symmetry was off, so I now have to add them in both ways, which I did, I think, a little bit. Literally just adding the reds. By the way, the part where I am adding the reds, because I have references on my second screen, like I can see some of these spots are in this area. That's why I'm actually adding it here. I know that you cannot see those, but yeah, there are some reds in this place. That's why I am just adding them. Now, as you can see that I'm just keep on switching between the colors, and the reason for that is to just add more variation, add more randomness. And I've already told you, adding one color and then using another color to basically remove the color is gonna give us the variation that we want in the skin. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Like you can see on the wrinkles, I am just using a little bit of darker colors to, make the wrinkles a bit more darker, even though in the references we don't have that. But the reason that I'm doing it is because once I actually use the green color, like the greenish color or the pale color on the wrinkles, that is just going to give us really nice looking variation. And also you can see that these darker brown areas I am using in between the crevices of the wrinkles, as you can see. So you can actually see why, like why am I doing it. Like obviously this part is actually gonna be a bit darker, and that's just what I am doing. After this color, by the way, I can just select the pale color and then paint the wrinkles with it. So I am doing it right now, so that's actually pretty nice. So what it's gonna do, it's basically just going to leave all the darker areas in the crevices, and all the wrinkles itself are just gonna be a bit pale, so it's gonna fake the effect of ambient occlusion maybe. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing right now. The way to figure out that is to just do some renders, and You've seen before that I've did many already, and I think I am gonna do more. I mean, obviously I'm gonna do more. Why am I saying I think? But yeah, that's just what the workflow is. And right now you can see that I have actually started blending all these variation. Maybe for some reason I am not liking the amount of variation we have in the skin, so that's also something that I am doing. And yeah, as you can see that I'm actually gonna do another render. That's why I came out of sculpt view. Okay, so in this case, I am just gonna enable the node so that we basically get the saturated version. Like we basically have removed the reds, and now we're gonna see how the skin looks. You can like see that this render actually turned out to be pretty nice. Now, obviously, if you were to just look at other references, for example, I am just gonna open few of them. These are not as red as we have like this particular reference, so I'm not gonna go with that. I kind of want to go with a reference like this, like we have opened without the spec reference, without the spectacles. So yeah, now I have actually added 5%, not 5%, but 50% of the red, and you can see how he is looking now. Yeah, like you can see the changes that I'm doing. I don't think that I really need to explain that, but yes, I think this version actually looks a bit better than the paler version. So adding a little bit of red has obviously contributed.